The marble corridors of the Capitol never truly slept, but they did learn how to whisper. After hours, the laughter faded, the reporters vanished, and the storm of democracy calmed to a quiet tension that never fully dissipated. The air at night held weight, of history, of secrets, of decisions made in silence when no one was watching. Lauren Boebert stood at the end of the East Hall, beneath the glow of a cold, humming light, staring at the door to room 416. She had come back for notes, that's all. A folder of scribbled budget comments she'd left behind during a chaotic markup earlier that day. But something had stopped her, a voice, muffled but distinct, leaking from behind that closed door. It wasn't supposed to be occupied, not at this hour. She moved closer, heels silent now on the worn carpet runner. Her instincts sharpened. Years of political warfare had taught her how to separate noise from signal. And what she was hearing wasn't noise. Move it to Section 118F. Let it ride under the energy modernization. No one reads that far. We bury the contract language under jurisdictional tech. The Oversight Committee will never touch it. Cyrex will handle the rollout. We keep it clean. Digital surveillance, all off the books. Lauren's breath caught. Cyrex. She knew the name. Everyone in D.C. did. A private contractor with a reputation so slick it couldn't hold water. They'd been denied access to 3 previous federal bids due to data violations, insider ties, and a disastrous test program that had once wiretapped a private high school by mistake. And yet here they were, back in the conversation. Lauren's hand instinctively reached for her phone. She opened her voice recorder and hit record. She didn't barge in. She didn't speak. She simply stood in the shadows and listened as 5 voices, men she couldn't yet identify, detailed the infrastructure of betrayal. They spoke like men used to not being challenged, confident in the silence that surrounded them. The conversation moved from legal terminology to logistics. They talked about midnight sessions, fast-tracked votes, the silence of tired reporters, and the loyalty of committee chairs who'd look the other way. Then, one voice lower, with a dry sense of sarcasm, and if Boebert catches wind, let her bark. The media will eat it up, then move on. She's predictable. A long silence followed, and Lauren stepped back from the door like someone retreating from a crime scene. She walked, not too fast, but not slow, down the corridor, her fingers gripping the phone like a weapon. She didn't sleep that night. Instead, she stayed up listening, re-listening, analyzing every pause, every inflection. She pulled the full draft of the bill, H.R. 4821, and scanned it line by line. At page 217, hidden under Digital Energy Infrastructure Expansion, she found it. Section 118F, Cooperative Technological Expansion Authority. It sounded harmless, almost boring. But the language was a trap. Oblique references to public-private convergence, interoperable integration of oversight parameters, and emergency response digitization deployment meant one thing: unchecked surveillance under the guise of energy modernization. Cyrex was named in the footnote. She stared at the page until her eyes burned, then she printed the transcript, all of it. The next morning, the Capitol moved as it always did, like a machine programmed to run on distraction. Reporters chased sound bites. Lobbyists chased legislators. Legislators chased polls. But Lauren was chasing truth. She walked into the oversight chair's office at 9:13 a.m. No appointment, just presence. "I need 5 minutes," she told his assistant. The chair, Representative Gerald Winstead, a man known more for procedural control than passion, waved her in with the weariness of someone expecting nonsense. "I know you don't like surprises, Mr. Chair," she said, placing the transcript on his desk. But this one's going to find you anyway. He raised an eyebrow, then slowly picked up the papers. As he read, the expression on his face shifted from boredom to disbelief to something more primal. Concern. "This is serious," he said finally. Lauren nodded once. "And it's real. I have the audio." Winstead stared at the document like it might bite him. "You understand what you're doing?" "Do you?" He sat back, his fingers steepled. "They'll come for you. Let them." The room went quiet. "I want this read into the record at the next hearing," she said. "Publicly." Winstead hesitated. "It'll blow up everything." "It should." That afternoon, she met with her communications director and two trusted aides. She didn't give them the full recording. Not yet, but she laid out what was coming. They listened in stunned silence, interrupted only by the buzz of alerts from their phones. News was spreading, whispers, nothing solid yet, but enough to sense something big moving beneath the floorboards. By the time Friday arrived, the chamber was full. C-SPAN had quietly adjusted its schedule. A few extra cameras appeared along the back wall. Reporters sat on the edge of their seats, half believing rumors of a classified clause expose from one of the House's most controversial figures. Lauren didn't play into the spectacle. She stood, calm, poised, wearing a navy blazer and holding a single sheet of paper. "Mr. Chairman," she said into the microphone, "with your permission, I'd like to enter a transcript into the official record regarding a conversation I overheard on Capitol grounds concerning Section 118F of H.R. 4821. Winstead gave a short nod. "Proceed." She began reading. Slowly, clearly, every word hit like a warning shot. By the third paragraph, the room was dead silent. Reporters scribbled furiously. A few members exchanged glances. The sentence that included the Cyrex reference drew audible gasps. And then, when she quoted the line about herself, "And if Boebert catches wind, let her bark. The media will eat it up," Lauren paused, looked up at the cameras, and finished the line. "She's predictable." Silence. Then she looked directly at the lens and said, "What's predictable is corruption disguised as procedure. What's predictable is power operating in the shadows. What's not predictable is me." It was the line that cracked everything open. Within minutes, social media exploded. The clip hit 10 million views in an hour. News outlets broke programming. Cable panels erupted. Some accused her of grandstanding. Others called her a patriot. But no one denied what she revealed. The language was real. The clause was real. And the silence of those involved became the loudest confession of all. The storm didn't hit all at once. It started in whispers, side glances in elevators, text threads between journalists, quiet denials from committee staffers. A press secretary's carefully worded, "We're looking into it." But by Monday morning, the storm had a name: 118EF. News banners read, "Boebert blows whistle on hidden surveillance deal." Is Congress hiding a billion-dollar contract? Cyrex clause, energy bill, or Trojan horse? Inside the Capitol, what began as murmurs erupted into full-blown panic. Lauren wasn't surprised. She'd played the clip again that morning. Not for confirmation, but for clarity. Listening to the cadence of the voices, the power in their casualness, the certainty in their tone. It was the confidence of people who didn't expect consequences. That's what infuriated her the most. They'd said her name like she was a footnote, like she was furniture in the chamber. And now they were scrambling. At 8 a.m. sharp, Representative Alan Truss, a senior Democrat from Maryland and known member of the Energy Committee, requested a private meeting with Lauren. She agreed, not because she trusted him, but because she wanted to see who blinked first. The meeting was set in a small, rarely used side room on the second floor of the Cannon building. Lauren arrived first. Her staff had advised against going alone, but she needed to feel the tension for herself, unfiltered. Truss entered 5 minutes late, looking every bit the part. Polished, composed, practiced. The man had weathered 4 administrations and left barely a mark on any of them. He smiled tightly. "Congresswoman Boebert." "Representative Truss," she replied without rising. He sat. "You've made quite a bit of noise." "Funny, I thought I was just reading." He folded his hands. "You know the vote was scheduled for Thursday." "It was," she said. "Now it's not." A beat passed. "Do you know what you're really playing with here?" he asked. "This wasn't some backroom game. There are national security implications, international partners. Timing matters." She raised an eyebrow. "Then you shouldn't have tried to sneak it under Section 118F. Truss didn't deny it. That was telling. Instead, he leaned forward, voice lower. "You exposed a conversation you weren't meant to hear." Lauren didn't flinch. "I exposed a plan to bypass the people who were elected to represent this country. There will be consequences." "There already are." He paused, studying her. Then, almost softly, "Why now?" "Why you?" She stood. "Because I'm not afraid of being underestimated anymore." She left without another word. Back in her office, Marcy was pacing. "You have to see this," she said, gesturing toward the screen. Fox News had picked up the story in full, but so had CNN. MSNBC ran a chyron that simply read, "Lauren Boebert, constitutionalist or chaos agent." The real bombshell came not from the networks, but from an unexpected leak to a small independent outlet. The site posted a redacted version of the Cyrex contract. Terms included a 7-year exclusive access to federal data grids, authority to deploy surveillance, AI, across multiple departments, exemption from FOIA, Freedom of Information Act, review, internal arbitration in place of judicial oversight. Lauren stared at the screen. "This isn't just sneaky," she said. "It's treason wrapped in tech language." Marcy nodded slowly. "Do you want to go public again?" "No," Lauren said. "Not yet." Later that evening, she received a plain white envelope slipped under her office door. No stamp, no return address. Inside was a single note. "We were watching. You just made yourself very inconvenient. Stop now." There was no signature, no threat, just that sentence, and a small silver flash drive taped to the back of the note. Lauren stared at it. For a long moment, she considered calling security, or the FBI, or her staff. But instead, she locked the office door, drew the blinds, and inserted the drive into a burner laptop she kept for sensitive research. It contained one file, a video. No sound, just silent footage, from inside a meeting room, room 416. Same as the one she stood outside days ago. The camera appeared to be hidden, angled from behind a ventilation panel. She watched as 5 suited men entered the room. She recognized one, Senator Brill. The others were unfamiliar. One wore a Department of Energy badge. They talked, mouthed words she couldn't hear, but she didn't need the audio. The visuals said enough. Brill held up a document, the same section of the bill she had flagged. Another man laughed and mimicked a barking motion, a joke about her. Then the man in the DOE badge leaned in and slid a folder across the table. Lauren hit pause. Her chest tightened. On the folder, barely visible, was a Department of Defense seal. She took a shaky breath and stood. This wasn't just about surveillance. This was about military-grade access buried in an energy bill. She hit play again. As the meeting ended, one of the men leaned back and made a gesture with his fingers, like zipping his mouth closed. Then they stood and left. She watched it twice. Then she encrypted the video and backed it up in 3 different cloud locations, under aliases she created during her campaign's cybersecurity training. If something happened to her, that video would go live. By the time she looked at the clock again, it was 3:27 a.m., and she knew she couldn't back down now. Morning came, but the sun brought no comfort. Washington, D.C. was overcast, the sky weighed down with thick gray clouds that looked ready to split open at any moment. Lauren stood at her window, staring out over the Capitol dome. Her mind wasn't on the weather. It was on the image she couldn't get out of her head, that Department of Defense seal. On a folder that didn't belong in an energy hearing, in a room that wasn't listed on any official schedule. Her phone buzzed. Marcy. There's someone here from the Department of Energy. He's not on the calendar. Lauren turned. Name? He didn't give one, just said, he's here to talk about Section 118F. Lauren felt a chill crawl down her spine. Send him in, but stay close. Marcy hesitated, then nodded. Seconds later, a tall, gray-suited man entered the room, mid-50s, wire-rimmed glasses, badge clipped to his lapel, but angled in a way that obscured the name, deliberate, controlled. He didn't sit. Congresswoman Boebert, he said, tone polite but clipped. We'd appreciate it if you stopped pursuing this matter. Lauren didn't speak at first. She studied him, measured him. We? The Department of Energy, he said smoothly, and our affiliated partners. Funny, she said. Last I checked, Congress doesn't report to contractors. He allowed himself a small smile. You've stirred up a great deal of noise. Good, she said. That was the point. He took a step closer. Not everything is as black and white as it appears. Section 118F exists because it has to, because the threats we face don't wait for committee hearings. Lauren didn't flinch. Then make your case publicly. Don't hide it in footnotes. A pause. Then he leaned slightly forward, lowering his voice. You're not the first to try and stop this. But the others, they understood. Eventually. Lauren stared at him. Was that a warning? No, he said. It's a reminder. With that, he turned and walked out. Marcy re-entered moments later. Her face was pale. I don't trust him, she whispered. Neither do I, Lauren replied. But now I know something else. They're scared. That afternoon, she received a call from Senator Hayes, a moderate Democrat from Oregon, who had previously co-sponsored cybersecurity legislation with her. His tone was cautious. Lauren, he said, I've got 2 hours before a subcommittee. Can you meet in my office? She agreed. Hayes was already seated when she arrived, a thick stack of papers spread across his desk. He looked tired, but alert. He gestured for her to sit. I read the transcript, and I saw the clip. Lauren said nothing. I believe you, he continued, but you've got to understand. This thing goes deep, deeper than just Cyrex. She leaned forward. How deep? Hayes sighed. There's a working group, off the books, made up of liaisons from 5 departments. They're calling it Project Sentinel. It started under the last administration, but it's ballooned. Cyrex is just the delivery system. What they're building isn't surveillance software. It's predictive control. Lauren frowned. What does that mean? He opened a drawer and slid over a document. It was a heavily redacted brief. Top secret markings, blurred out with thick black lines. The title was clear enough. Project Sentinel. Civil Behavioral Prediction Through Infrastructural Monitoring. Lauren skimmed the text. What little remained visible made her stomach churn. Are they trying to anticipate unrest? Not just anticipate, Hayes said. Preempt. Shape it. Nudge outcomes, alter incentives, influence environments before anyone even acts. She looked up. That's authoritarian. It's beyond that, he said quietly. It's technocratic manipulation wrapped in public-private language. Lauren stood. We need to expose this, not just 118F, the whole damn thing. You'll have no friends left, Hayes warned. I'm not here to make friends, she replied. I'm here to stop this before it becomes permanent. He nodded. Then you'll need help, the kind that doesn't wear suits. 2 nights later, she met with a man who introduced himself only as Reese, former NSA, fired after testifying against unauthorized surveillance. He operated now as a digital ghost, helping whistleblowers scrub metadata, encrypt evidence, and disappear when necessary. They met in the back of a bookshop near Adams Morgan. Reese wore a hoodie and carried an ancient ThinkPad laptop covered in faded stickers. I saw your drop, he said. The drive you backed up in 3 locations. Solid, but sloppy. Lauren raised an eyebrow. Someone pinged one of your backup servers already, he said. They know you have more. She didn't show it, but her heart skipped. I can clean it, Reese said, but if you're going to make this public, you need to do it fast and surgical. He pulled up a map of internet routing nodes. Red dots blinked across it like pinpricks on a radar. They're watching the flow, looking for packet bursts that match video format sizes. If they find your raw file before you launch it, they can scrub it. And you. She looked him in the eye. Then help me hit first. Reese smiled. I thought you'd never ask. By the end of the week, Lauren had compiled everything. The full transcript, the silent video, the DOE official's visit, Hayes's redacted briefing, a secure upload to 3 international press contacts, and a pre-recorded video statement, encrypted and ready to deploy. The launch was set for Monday at 6 a.m. When the media was at its thirstiest and least prepared, she titled it, Project Sentinel, The Truth Hidden in Section 118 EPI. The clock on Lauren's desk ticked down the final seconds of silence before the explosion. 6 a.m., her hand hovered over her tablet as the secure upload confirmed. Live. The video had gone out simultaneously to 3 different channels. A Dutch investigative outlet, a South Korean digital transparency group, and an American whistleblower platform that hadn't missed a major scoop since the Snowden era. Within minutes, it was everywhere. Project Sentinel surged onto social media like a rogue wave crashing through the digital landscape. The clip Lauren had carefully recorded, a simple 72-second video of silent figures in a room, passing folders, pointing to documents, and zipping mouths shut, now had a soundtrack of public outrage. Bloggers decoded body language. Internet sleuths began trying to match faces with government officials. Hashtags formed like pressure cracks in the system. Shut down Sentinel, job out WHO funds, Cyrex, stop 118F. But it wasn't just online noise. By 6:45 a.m., the video had reached the front page of Politico and Axios. CNN led with a red banner. Congresswoman Boebert releases evidence of secret surveillance infrastructure. White House monitoring developments. Fox News had a panel scrambling to catch up. One commentator shouting, "This is bigger than PRISM. This is digital redistricting of freedom." At 7:13 a.m., the White House issued its first official comment. We are aware of Congresswoman Boebert's claims and have opened an internal review of the provisions listed in Section 118F of H.R. 4821. They didn't deny it. They couldn't, because Lauren had also released her voice recording, edited to remove dead space, but intact enough to hear the unmistakable cadence of 5 powerful men plotting behind closed doors. The part where they joked about her bark? That clip alone had 20 million views by 9 a.m. Lauren sat in her office, coffee gone cold, watching the collapse unfold on 6 separate monitors. One screen showed Senator Brill walking swiftly into a side door of the Capitol, chased by a gaggle of reporters shouting questions. Another screen showed a live feed of a protest forming outside the Rayburn building, people holding signs that said, "We read the fine print. Not in our name. Don't silence dissent. 118F." Her inbox was melting. Journalists, former colleagues, enemies, allies, even people she hadn't spoken to in years. Some were angry, some were apologetic, some were terrified. And then the real call came, a blocked number. She answered, a breath. Then, "You should have played the game, Boebert." The line went dead. She stared at the phone, no fear, no regret, only resolve. That afternoon, she was summoned to an emergency bipartisan ethics inquiry. The pretense was clear. Investigate her for unauthorized disclosure of sensitive information. But Lauren didn't walk in like a woman on trial. She walked in like the person who'd already won. Inside the chamber, the panel looked like a chessboard. 3 Democrats, 3 Republicans, all handpicked by leadership. They tried to look impartial, but the sweat beneath their collars betrayed them. Congressman Meyer, the chair of the committee, cleared his throat. "Congresswoman Boebert, you're here today to explain your actions involving the leak of classified or sensitive material related to HR 4821. Lauren leaned into her mic. Calm, clear. Section 118F was not classified. It was obscured. There's a difference. Did you have authorization to release surveillance footage? Did those officials have authorization to create a surveillance system that bypasses this very chamber?" Silence. Project Sentinel was a clandestine operation, operating under a title buried in an unrelated energy bill. "I exposed it because no one else would. If that's a violation, then maybe your rules protect the wrong people." There was a pause, longer than anyone expected. One member, Representative Torres, finally said, "Do you have anything else to submit to the record?" Lauren pulled out a new folder. "Actually, I do." She slid it forward. Inside was a fresh leak. A list of the Cyrex subsidiary shell companies, the Senate staffers with family ties to their executive board, and the email where a DOE official approved early system installation before the vote had even taken place. Torres looked pale. "I trust you'll read it thoroughly," Lauren said, and with that, she stood. Back in her office, Reese was waiting, his laptop already open, eyes flicking across data like a pianist reading music. "They're rattled," he said. "Someone tried to DDoS 2 of the platforms hosting your video. But it's too late. The mirrors are everywhere now." Lauren nodded. "Let them chase ghosts." Reese smiled. "Your next move?" She looked at the window, where the crowd outside was growing. "I'm going to the floor," she said, "and I'm going to demand a full repeal of 118F in daylight." "On the record, ballsy," Reese muttered. Lauren turned, her voice firm. "It's not about bravery. It's about making sure they know. If they bury something in silence, I'll drag it out by the roots." The chamber floor of the House was loud. Not chaotic, but noisy in that polished way only DC could manage. Conversations in hushed tones, behind raised folders, hallway nods with razor-sharp meaning, and aides crisscrossing the aisle like chess pieces in a game the public could never see. Lauren Boebert walked in without looking left or right. Her heels clicked across the polished floor like a metronome counting down to impact. She wore a deep charcoal blazer, an American flag pin on her lapel, and a thin folder in her hands, just one. Inside it, the raw draft for a motion to formally repeal Section 118 of HR 4821 and initiate a special investigation into Project Sentinel and its relationship with Cyrex Systems and the Department of Energy. Every word had been chosen with precision. She took her seat, Eyes followed. Some nodded in support. Others tried not to react at all. At 11:08 a.m., Speaker McAllister banged the gavel. The chair recognizes the gentlewoman from Colorado. Lauren stood, holding nothing but the folder. No papers, no tablets, just her voice. Mr. Speaker, I request unanimous consent to introduce a resolution to immediately suspend Section 118 AUF of the Energy Modernization and Federal Grid Act, and to open a full congressional investigation into Project Sentinel, the Department of Energy's role, and any contracting or subcontracting relationships with Cyrex Systems or its affiliates. The room did not erupt. That would have been too honest. Instead, it hushed. The kind of quiet that hinted at fear. Not fear of her, fear of what was about to become undeniable. Speaker McAllister adjusted his glasses. The gentlewoman has submitted a resolution. Does the chamber have objection to entering it for discussion? A voice spoke from the left side. Software. Slick. Objection. Lauren turned. It was Representative Colin York, a Republican from Virginia, former ally, former co-sponsor on her border tech transparency bill. Her stomach sank. York continued, rising to his feet. Mr. Speaker, while I respect the passion of the gentlewoman, I move to table the resolution. This body cannot be distracted by media theatrics at a time of infrastructure urgency. Gasps, murmurs, shifting in chairs. Lauren didn't sit. She turned to face York directly. Theatrics? She repeated. Is it theatrical to expose a contract that hands control of federal digital infrastructure to an unaccountable AI contractor with prior violations? York responded coolly. You made your case to the press, not to us. That says enough. The speaker's gavel tapped once. Order. Lauren took one step forward. Then allow me to make it now, she said. In this chamber. In the daylight? Speaker McAllister paused. You have 5 minutes. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't pace. She simply spoke. About the secret meeting. About the folder passed from hand to hand. About the military seal on a file, buried under energy legislation. About the coded language, the suppression, the threats, and most damning, about the idea that unelected, unseen figures believed they had the right to shape what America sees, hears, and believes before Americans themselves ever did. This isn't just about surveillance, she said. It's about sovereignty, the sovereignty of your choices, your privacy, your life. There was no applause, just silence, the kind of silence that lives between shock and shame. But York wasn't done. He stood again, waving a printout. We now have evidence why, he said, that the video Congresswoman Boebert released was edited and distributed with the assistance of known anti-government cyber operatives. Lauren's eyes narrowed. York kept going. A technician formerly employed at the NSA, terminated for ethical breaches, is listed as a metadata registrant for one of the release mirrors. He was talking about Reese. Lauren stepped forward again. So now we're attacking the source instead of confronting the substance. York ignored her. I move to refer Congresswoman Boebert's conduct to the House Ethics Committee under Rule 10b, dissemination of unauthorized surveillance material. The gavel struck. Motion recorded. In the hallway afterward, reporters swarmed. Congresswoman, are you being investigated now? Is your whistleblower working with enemies of the state? Will you resign if you're censured? Lauren stopped. She looked at the cameras, her eyes hard but calm. I released the truth, she said, and now the ones who fear it most are trying to discredit me. But here's what they can't undo. The vote is delayed. The people are watching. The shadows aren't safe anymore. She walked away without another word. That night, her apartment lights stayed off. She watched from behind the curtains as a black sedan circled the block 3 times, unmarked, unhurried. It didn't park, it didn't leave, it just watched, and she understood something new in her bones. This wasn't political anymore. It was personal. And it was only the beginning. Lauren sat alone in her office that night, the overhead lights dimmed, the buzz of the city muffled behind thick security glass. It had been a day of high theater, attack, defense, accusations, and the familiar sharp taste of betrayal. But what stuck with her most wasn't the speeches or York's political ambush. It was the unmarked car, 3 loops, no passengers, no reason. Just enough to say, "We see you." She hadn't told Marcy, not yet. Her aide had already been through enough. Sleepless days, relentless calls from networks, and the mounting tension that comes with standing next to someone the system had unofficially decided to crush. But Lauren had learned to live in pressure, and pressure was where people cracked. At 7:43 p.m., her office door creaked open slightly. Marcy stepped in. Her face was pale. "They've scheduled your ethics hearing for Wednesday," she said. "They're fast-tracking it." Lauren nodded. "Of course they are. There's something else." Marcy hesitated, then placed a single envelope on the desk. It was thin, pale blue. Not official. "I found it in the mail drop bin. No return address." Lauren picked it up, carefully slid the contents out. A printed image. It was a photo. Blurry, zoomed, but unmistakable. Her, standing near Reese, outside the bookshop. She stared at it in silence for a long time, then flipped it over. A handwritten message. "You're not the only one being watched." Her fingers tightened around the paper. Someone had eyes inside her movement, her world. But it wasn't the message that chilled her. It was the timing. They were accelerating. Someone wanted her off the board before she made it to Friday's floor vote, before she could make her motion binding. She looked up at Marcy. "Has anyone on staff been acting strange?" Marcy blinked. "Like, how?" "Anything odd. Devices missing. Files accessed. Password resets." Marcy's face twitched. "Actually, last week, before all of this, Jason borrowed my tablet. Just for an hour. He said he was syncing cloud files for your briefings." Jason. Her junior policy aide. He'd been with her for 4 months. Came with strong references. Quiet, efficient, too efficient. Lauren nodded slowly. "Where is he now?" "He took the rest of the day off. Said he had a headache." Lauren stood. "Tell Capital IT to lock down all access credentials issued to him, now." Marcy didn't ask why. She just moved. Lauren stepped into her private room, pulled out her encrypted laptop, and launched a system sweep. She fed it every login Jason had touched in the past 60 days. And there it was. A back door. A mirrored sync to an off-site server. IP masked. Location bouncing. But not enough. The server had pinged twice. Once the day after her recording dropped, and again just 3 hours ago. He'd been copying everything. Speeches, internal notes, passwords, and possibly worse, her full leak prep folder. She called Reese immediately. He picked up on the first ring. "Tell me," he said. "I've been compromised. My staff, one of them's a plant." Reese cursed under his breath. "Do they have your Sentinel archive?" "They might." Silence. Then, "You need to relocate. Tonight. I can't leave DC. You can't win if you're ghosted before the vote." Lauren looked out the window again. The car was gone. For now. "I'll handle it," she said, "but I need you to do something for me. Name it. I want you to dig into Jason's digital trail. Every employer, every overlap, every gap. Find out who he's feeding." "You got it." She hung up. Then she leaned against her desk. She was tired, not from the noise, but from the erosion. The way trust had to be questioned, the way truth turned people into threats. But this wasn't about survival anymore. It was about momentum. They weren't trying to stop her from finding the truth. They were trying to stop her from finishing what she started. And she would finish it, even if she had to burn down every illusion in the Capitol to do it. Lauren didn't sleep. She sat on her couch in the dark, watching the Capitol dome flicker through the curtains like a lighthouse that had forgotten what coast it belonged to. Her encrypted tablet buzzed every few minutes with updates from Reese. By 2:12 a.m., she had a name. Jason Merritt wasn't just a policy aide. He wasn't even who his resume claimed. According to Reese's deep trace, Jason's real name was Michael J. Marin, and he had previously worked as a contractor for an intelligence-adjacent data analytics firm called EchoTrack, a company later acquired by Cyrex Systems. Lauren stared at the screen as the PDF unfolded. Jason hadn't just stumbled into her office. He was placed, his role, to monitor whistleblower activity in hostile legislative environments, a corporate euphemism for spy on politicians who won't play ball. She stood, grabbed her coat, and made the call. "Marcy," she whispered into the phone, "I need you to meet me at the office and bring Jason. Now, now." At 3:14 a.m., her office door opened. Jason stepped in first, all calm smiles and sleepy confusion. "Congresswoman," he said, eyes adjusting to the dim lights. "What's going on?" Marcy followed a few feet behind, brows furrowed. Lauren didn't waste time. "Where were you tonight?" she asked. Jason blinked. "I told Marcy I wasn't feeling well." "Before that, where were you between 5 and 6 p.m.? He hesitated. That was all she needed. She held up her tablet, tapped the screen. A photo appeared, pulled from traffic cam metadata Reese had found through a ghosted side channel. It showed Jason standing outside the Roosevelt Research Annex, a supposedly defunct Department of Energy site in rural Virginia. "Recognize this place?" she asked. Jason stared. "I don't know what that is." Wrong answer. "You were there 3 hours ago," she said. "Your phone pinged a relay tower 2 miles away. You were picked up on 3 traffic cams. I have all of it." His expression didn't change, but the life drained from his eyes. "You've been reporting back to Cyrex," she continued, "since you started, feeding them my movements, my documents, and maybe worse." I don't," he began. "You don't work here anymore," she said flatly. "Marcy, call Capitol Security." Jason's hands twitched, but he didn't move. He knew it was over. Lauren looked at him one last time. "Tell your real bosses this. If they think fear stops me, they haven't been listening." By morning, the Capitol was ablaze with rumors. Boebert fires staffer for leaking surveillance files. Insider spy discovered in congressional office energy contractor embedded aide in Hill office. Lauren didn't hide from it. She walked into the rotunda, wearing the same coat from last night. The exhaustion showed, but so did the fire in her eyes. Reporters swarmed. "Did you find a mole inside your own office? Was Cyrex involved? Do you think more offices have been infiltrated?" Lauren stopped, looked straight into the cameras. "I know they have." She met with Reese in a secure cafe off Massachusetts Avenue, an old bookstore that had gone half underground after COVID and never reopened to the public. Reese had already set up 3 laptops across a side table, all connected to a slow-dripping faucet of data scraped from a dozen back-channel sources. "I ran the Roosevelt site through an old DOE grant archive," he said. "It's officially listed as a geothermal subsurface monitoring facility." Lauren raised an eyebrow. "Sounds harmless." "It's not. Look." He pulled up thermal satellite images. Grainy, but clear enough. Large metallic structures, Utility lines, security perimeters, motion sensors, 2 underground fiber cables rerouted directly to DC. That's not a test facility, Lauren muttered. That's a node. Reese nodded. My guess? It's one of the first major Sentinel hubs. Lauren stared at the screen. How do we prove it? Reese cracked a grin. We go there. She laughed once, bitterly. You're serious. Dead serious. You want this shut down, you need to see it. Film it. Leak it. Something undeniable. The language of bureaucracy doesn't break people's delusions, but a visual bomb will. Lauren leaned forward. Then let's pay them a visit. The road to the Roosevelt Annex was long, narrow, and swallowed in forest. No streetlights, no signs. Just a 2-lane path that coiled through thick Virginia woodland, like a black wire leading to something buried, forgotten by the world, remembered only by those who needed it to stay secret. Lauren sat in the passenger seat of Reese's midnight blue rental SUV, watching the trees blur past like sentinels. They hadn't spoken much since leaving DC.